to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Anthem Bill 2024, SB 461, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Anthem Bill 2024, SB 461, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Osita Ngu on the Private Investigators Regulation Bill 2024 SB 136. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Private Investigators Regulation Bill 2024, SB 136, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Private
Regulation
Investigators
Bill
Regulation
2024,
Bill 2024, SB 136, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Kaka Shehu Lawan on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024 SB 192. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 192, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 192, first reading taken. Clerk of the Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Comrade Tony Nwoye on the National College of Health Technology Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 333. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National College of Health Technology Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 333, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Colleges of Health Technology Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 333, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators, the first order of the day is the second reading of the National Anthem Bill 2024, SB 461. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78 sub 1 in order to read the bill for a second time. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I write to second the motion moved by the Senate leader that we suspend our Rule 70 of Section 1 to allow us to take this matter. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please, colleagues, those who are in support of the motion as moved say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and our distinguished colleagues. It is with great sense of responsibility and patriotism that I rise to lead the debate on the general principles of the bill for an act to provide for the national anthem of Nigeria and for related matters. You are all aware that Nigeria, at its independence in 1960, adopted the national anthem titled Nigeria, We Hail Thee. The concept, phraseology, and the ideological connotation of this anthem conveyed and epitomized the significant historic heritage of our dear country, Nigeria. The bill was read for the first time earlier today, being Thursday, the 23rd day of May 2024. The anthem, upon rendition, inspired and stimulated deep sense of patriotism in Nigerians. You will also agree with me that those who were around in the 1960s and the late 70s would attest to the fact that the anthem played quite a significant and crucial role in shaping Nigeria's national identity and unity, as well as engendered high sense of value and personal belonging amongst the citizenry. It was symbolic of Nigeria's rich cultural heritage and nationhood. In retrospect, the anthem served as regular and constant reminder of our journey as a nation and provoked feelings of nostalgia and fond memories of the country's early years. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, at this momentous time in our national history, it is imperative that we utilize any platform that seeks to unite the country and promote patriotism among Nigerians. Accordingly, the old national anthem, as a symbol of national pride, has provided insights for patriotic reflections on our aspirations, values, and hope for a united and prosperous Nigeria. The rendition and musical accuracy of the anthem is better in content and context than the current one. On this note, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, permit me to reproduce the anthem to serve as a reminder and reflection. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all, and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign, in peace or battle honored. And this we count as gain, to hand on to our children a banner without stain. O God of creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so, with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, this bill seeks to make provision for Nigeria to revert to its old national anthem that will promote better symbol for unity, peace, and prosperity compared to the current one. The new anthem, Nigeria, the new anthem, if passed, Nigeria we hail thee, will yet again inspire in us the zeal to build a fully integrated and indivisible nation where all citizens will live in unity and harmony. Finally, I implore you all, my distinguished colleagues, to support the expeditious passage of this bill, as it is in line with the renewed reorientation of our collective values, and national conscientization efforts of the current administration. And this appeal to all of you to support this bill is, by extension, also being made to the Nigerian public, who I believe will participate fully in the public hearing that will be conducted by the Senate on this bill in taking a final decision. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I thank you for your time and attention.
Yes, distinguished Senator Manguno.
Okay. Distinguished President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Obot Akfabio, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. The bill sponsored by the leader of the Senate is apt and germane today, especially against the backdrop of the fact that the national anthem that is currently in use is a product of a military junta, which is not a product of consensus ad idem of Nigerians, and therefore does not reflect the wishes and aspirations of Nigerians, because it was decreed by a military junta. Now that the Senate, as representative of the people, the bastion of democratic values and norms, is responsible and responsive to the yearnings of Nigerians. And this bill, when passed into second reading, it is going to be subjected to public hearing, whereby all Nigerians will come and ventilate their opinion as to the pros and cons of the bill, as opposed to a military junta with all its attendants, draconian and obnoxious way of governance, decreeing it or forcing it on Nigerians. This bill is going to be subjected to public hearing, which is in tandem with our democratic norms and values, and Nigerians have the right to say whether we should retain the present national anthem as it is, or go back to the national anthem with amendment. So this bill is apt and germane, and I support it to go for second reading. Thank you. Get it to go for second reading. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Ezia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The President of the Senate, and my dear distinguished colleagues. My name is Okechukwu Ezia. I represent the people of Enugu North Senatorial District. I rise to support the bill that seeks to reintroduce the old national anthem of Nigeria. This is a national anthem that is what it should be. A national anthem is supposed to evoke emotions. These days, you don't find our children singing the national anthem with emotion and with acceptance. The old national anthem is an anthem, is like a battle cry. It urges us to love Nigeria. It urges us that Nigeria is a united and that we are all brothers. The current national anthem is drab. It evokes no message, it carries no message. I therefore urge my colleagues to support this bill to ensure that we get back to where we started. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Johanna Amos.
The area I want to speak about is the area of the participation of the entire country. And this is the democratic process that when something comes up that affects the nation, Nigerians should be given the opportunity to decide. And the good thing about this bill is that for once, the entire nation will be brought together under a democratic process to decide the national anthem. And because of that one very important principle, I support this bill to be read the second time so that Nigerians across board, the entire strata of the society, should be invited and be involved in deciding what becomes the national anthem, which at the moment we are considering a revert to the old one. And so because of this principle, that Nigerians will be involved from all walks of life and the entire strata of the Nigerian society, I support that this bill be read the second time so that Nigerians will be given the opportunity to say what they want. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Udende.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Emmanuel Memga Udende. I represent the very good people of Benue Northeast. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I stand to support the second reading of this very important bill. A closer look at the anthem reveals the following. It shows our history, it reveals our diversity, it urges us to serve in honesty and in truth. It ends with a prayer for God to bless us. As a child, at the time this anthem was changed, 1978, I was in my final year in the secondary school. And the only reason was that the first anthem was given to us by the colonial masters. I think that should not be a good reason to change anthem. And I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. It is also going to public hearing. I think it's a good bill, and I urge that all of us should support it.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Jimo Ibrahim, PhD, Welfare.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President, your common Senate President of Federal Republic of Nigeria. My very distinguished colleagues, I will make specific contribution to this bill ably brought by our Senate leader, and we must thank him for taking in this direction. As a matter of fact, the national anthem says, "Arise, O compatriots." Who are the compatriots? That word, compatriots, is elusive. Mr. Senate President, I take indulgence of your leave to cite Lord Denny in the case of Seaford Estate against Asher. Our laws are not instruments of mathematical prescription. If it were to be so, our literature in English would have been poorer. Words are elusive. They serve no purpose. So if you say, arise, O compatriots, what about the non-compatriots? Are they not part of Nigeria? But if you look at the old item, it says, Nigeria will hail thee. It talks to the mind of Nigeria. It starts with elevating Nigeria in its value. And a country, national item, must talk to its value. So,
Point of
Mr.
order.
Senate President, I lend my golden voice.
Point of order. You
Yes,
will
sir.
continue.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, leader.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I rise pursuant to Order 8, Sub 3 of our rules to move for an extension of time to enable us to see beyond 2 p.m. so that we can conclude the items that we have on the agenda. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion by said leader that we amend our rule to sit beyond 2 p.m. to enable us complete important items on the other paper. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we do extend our time to sit beyond 2 p.m. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, distinguished Senator Jimo Ibrahim, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. The point I'm making is that it's about value creation. Nigeria already, we have converging complexities around many issues. The old national item talked about brotherliness. And this is very important. If I do know you are my brother, you know I will take care of you. I'll be there for you in difficult times. I will hold haste for you. And I will ensure that we live in peace and harmony. And to summarize this, the new one is saying, arise, O compatriots. What about non-compatriots? Can't we convert them to become compatriots? And that's why I said this language is elusive. And it's not good for any reason. The Nigeria we hail thee. Talk to the mind of Nigeria. Talk to our taxonomy, that we are hailing this country, that this country belongs to us, that we hold this country in faith and in hairness to agree in agreement. That 3-4 languages, words, they mean a lot. They are completely at variance with arise, O compatriots. So I take offense, and that's why I cited Lord Denny, that our language is not an instrument of mathematical prescription where 1 + 1 is 2. Words are elusive. We must try as a nation, as a Senate, to rise above elusiveness of language. So this new national item is not solving any problem. And lastly, if we are to go empirical to data, my colleagues have said it here. Let's conduct data and find out how many secondary school children can recite our current national item of head. You will see that we are far behind. So I think the only way is to help our nation to grow is not to add to the complexity converging around our national development and our historical value. One of my colleagues talked about native. We cannot lose our trajectory value. We come from somewhere. I'm from Igbotako. I'm an Ikale man. I should be proud of it anywhere I go. I must come from somewhere. And lastly, Mr. Senate President, until 1914, like I said in my regions, this country have no name. There's no name called Nigeria until 1914. But this country was in existence, dated 1400, where people who are doing mental issues in Idari and ditto all other part of the Confederation. So I want to say very clearly, there was peace as at that time. There was unity of purpose. But since 1914, when we come by the name Nigeria, those values of yesterday cannot be said to be repugnant to the doctrine that we practice today. I urge you, Mr. Senate President, my very distinguished colleagues, to conduct public hearing as rightly suggested. Let's hear the view of other Nigerians and let's move this country forward in a way that the classical approach to to modern development of yesterday cannot be completely eluded, and it cannot be said to be repugnant to the doctrine of natural justice and equity. If we get the national item right, we get Nigeria right. If we fail to do so, I'm sorry, we are adding to the complexity that converge around us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, distinguished Senator Omen.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to support that this bill be read for a second time, and I align myself very strongly with the lead debate presented by the Senate leader. The national anthem of the year, that's the old one, which we are seeking to bring back, is a national anthem that meets all the ingredients of a national anthem. One is that the national anthem is supposed to evoke love on your nation. The citizens should be able to look up to the nation, Nigeria, as their own country. And that is why the opening is Nigeria we hail thee. In other words, we are placing Nigeria above all considerations as citizens of the country. Again, national anthem is supposed to be motivational. The words contained in the old national anthem are motivational, quite motivational. Apart from putting to bear our history, our composition as a people, it emphasized brotherhood above all things. Whether you are from any part of Nigeria, no matter the tongue you speak, you should be able to see the next person that is a Nigerian as your brother and embrace him. So it is contained in this national anthem. Again, when I was growing up, Mr. President, I looked up to Nigeria as a symbol of my life because we recited it in the primary schools in the early 70s and so on and so forth. When we had national competitions, when you go to national competitions, that is when you will see the quality of this old national anthem. When you sing it, once there is a match Nigeria is involved in, the national anthem of the competing nations will be sung. And when it comes to that of Nigeria, everybody will rise up that we must carry the day. So it is motivational. And if you look at it, you will see that very great matches we have watched in the World Cup. Nations of the world who are in the competition get charged. Their players get charged once they sing their national anthem. One national anthem that I have watched in the World Cup do magic in a match was that of Germany. When they sang that national anthem, at the time Germany was down, but realizing that the integrity and the pride of the nation was at stake, Germany rallied from behind. Even Rummenigge, wearing very saggy short knicker, was able to mobilize his people, and they carried the day. So national anthem must be motivational. And I think from what my colleagues have spoken, it is very clear that the current anthem is, my brother said, is elusive. My own is that it is vague. In content, there is nothing in the current national anthem that mobilizes our people to action. So I support that this bill should be read for a second time because it arouses patriotism and a call to defend the nation at very challenging and competing times. So if we bring it back, I will tell you that our children and all of us will be more committed to realizing the ideals of nationhood. It's just like what Mr. President said some time ago. He said, we must recite the national pledge at all times. That national pledge was an attempt by Mr. President
to bring back commitment of Nigerians to our nationhood. So this old national anthem carries everything together. And if we bring it back, I'll tell you that anybody who is doing anything anywhere will first of all know that he's a Nigerian. If you want to do anything outside Nigeria, you won't want to bring shame to the country. But this is a country, by our anthem, we hold so dear. Nigerians, we held you. So I support this, and I believe that when it goes to public hearing, we will be able to harvest opinions of Nigerians in this regard when the issues involved, stanza by stanza, are x-rayed. So I thank you, Mr. President, for this. May we read the bill for a second time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to go between the old and the new. So, distinguished Senator Plan, I don't know whether you were born when this anthem was in place. Senator, may please off your mic. And then, so if I don't know whether you were born that time. Were you born?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you raise your hand, say something.
Thank you. The President of the Senate, my colleagues, I am Senator Dicket Plan, Senator representing Plateau Senatorial District. President of the Senate and my colleagues, I rise to bring to our attention very clearly on the motto of Nigeria: unity and faith, peace and progress. Unity can only be acquired when there's brotherhood. When there's brotherhood, there's unity. And what brings us together as a nation is like in the local arithmetic. In the local arithmetic, you have components. You have improper fractions. And for you to bring improper fractions together to form a whole number, you need an LCM. For Nigeria to be united and to be one, to bring the component of this country to make up a whole number, you need a lowest common multiple. And the lowest common multiple that will bring us together is that we are brothers. Though we have diversity, by the end of the day, we are binded by the fact that we are brothers. The reintroduction of brotherhood in our national anthem is very fundamental. I am coming from Plateau, and as a senator from Plateau, I try as much as possible in settling issues to take away issue of tribe, but to bring to it that though we are different, we are binded together. In the early 70s, sir, we were told in the primary school, when you are singing the national anthem, the headmaster will tell you that even if it is scorpion that bite you or sting you, you cannot shift to scratch because you are singing the national anthem. It is there is a lot of reconscientization when you pick the language of the national anthem. I would not want to say those that re-edited or those, the 1978 national anthem is bad. But languages are dynamic. There are times that some words are very important at time T. When you look at where we are today, brotherhood is a great language for Nigeria. Brotherhood is a great language for Nigerians. And if we remove first and we look at Nigeria, as the title is, Nigeria we hail thee. That is to say, Nigeria comes before any other thing. My brothers, it is not because someone is presiding, but probably let's look at the wordings. and then look at what variable do we need to add on the Nigerian anthem and the way Nigerian anthem should be sung and attended to. Sir, this bill also spoke about the Nigerian flag. Sir, you go around, you find Nigerians flag tattered. I believe that by the time Nigerians come to agree, would probably getting back to the former one. There must be an intention for Nigerians to respect national symbols, the flag and the anthem. Arise to just bring our attention that brotherhood we stand. Though we have tribes and different tongues, though there are tribes and different tongues, though their tribes and different tongues may differ, but we are binded by the fact that we are brothers. May we remain brothers. May we know this. If we know this, we will be united. And when we are united, there will be faith. And when there is faith, Nigeria will have peace. And when there is peace, we will progress. May God bless our country.
Amen. In fact, as you were talking, I recall when the young lady, Amusan, I think, won the hurdles gold medal at the Olympics. When the national flag was waving, a lot of people were in tears. I think it will bring back, because even here in chapter 2 says, our flag shall be our symbol. Our flag shall be our symbol that we are Nigerians. So it also talks about the fact that truth and justice should reign in our country. In peace, even in battle, we must honor that flag. We count it as gain to hand to our children a banner without stain. It's almost like a commitment. With a prayer that God of creation should grant this our one request. God should help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, which we have in abundance, Nigeria may be blessed. On that note, I'd like to recognize distinguished Senator Zam.
Your Excellency, the uncommon President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my dear colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Tatengezam, and I represent the people of Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. Senate President, in view of the overwhelming support this bill has enjoyed from my colleagues, I adopt all the arguments in favor of the bill that it should be read for the second time. I so support, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, time is not on our side. We have heard from all, and I want to thank you all. Distinguished leader of the Senate, I want to thank you for bringing this bill. And maybe because I was born in that era, and not in the Gen Z era. Distinguished Senator Asukwa, please get back to your seat. And then I want to hear your voice from the younger generation. You were not around when this anthem came, but having read through this, the wordings of this anthem at independence, compared to what we are having today, what is your opinion? Please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I may not have been there. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Asukwa Ekwenyo, Senator representing Cross River South. While I may not have been there when this anthem was changed, I'm a student of history, and I know that it was done during the military era. I'm not sure how much consultation was done during the process, but I think this is an opportunity for us to have a wider and broader consultation with the general public and the people who we represent. If this is indeed what they require at this time, and if the wordings of the previous anthem resonates more with their beliefs, their emotions, and their understanding of Nigeria today. So I would call on not just the Senate, but the entire National Assembly to do wider and deeper consultations, engage with the people who we are here to represent as we move ahead with this very important subject. Thank you very much.
So, in your opinion, do you want it to go for a second reading? Because you just finished a political speech. You finished a political speech. Your generation does not understand the importance of having independence. But I want you to tell us: are you in support of this bill going for a second time, a second reading, or not?
Yes, I am.
You are
And
okay.
giving the
So,
opportunity
distinguished
to the
colleagues,
public
having
for a
listened
public
to
hearing.
all and sundry, I would like to put the question: those in support that this bill be read a second time, say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the national anthem of Nigeria and for matters related thereto 2024, SB 461, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to provide for the national anthem of Nigeria and for matters related thereto 2024, second reading taken. This bill is now committed to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, in addition to the Committee on Federal Character and Intergovernmental Affairs, to report back to the Senate as soon as possible. Leader of the Senate.
Well, I thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. The second order of the day is a motion standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Agadaga Benson Sunday on the urgent need for transformation of the abandoned Shell airstrip at Oloibiri Oil Well 1, Otuogidi in Ogbea local government area of Bayelsa State to an Air Force base. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Agadaga Benson Sunday to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Agadaga.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to present this motion. I am Senator Chief Benson Sunday Agadaga. I speak for all the characters in Bayelsa East Senatorial District of Bayelsa State, including former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR, my former classmate. My motion is on the urgent need for transformation of the abandoned Shell airstrip at Utogidi, Oloibiri Oil Well 1, Utogidi, Nogbia local government area of Bayelsa State, to an Air Force base. The Senate knows that the Shell airstrip, constructed in 1958, following the first discovery of crude oil in 1956, sitting on over 25 hectares of land, situated at Itokopri Bush, hosting the famous oil well, Olebri Oil Well 1 in Utogidi community, has long been abandoned. Also knows that the airstrip, while in effective operation,
was a very valuable asset in the company's oil exploration and exploitation activities in airlifting personnel and equipment to Olobiri at that time. Observe that during the years of its functionality, heavy-duty equipment, company workers, captains of industry, top government functionaries, and diplomats resorted to this route for easy access to the Niger Delta region. Regrets that since the gradual decline of Shell's operations in the area and final departure from Olobiri oil field, the airstrip and the land where it operated have been abandoned and left desolate. The land itself appears to be sentenced to perpetual condemnation and doom, as no agricultural activity, which is the economic mainstay of the local dwellers, can be carried out anymore due to the concretized topography of the soil. Worried that this experience poses environmental challenges and serious ecological complications to the host community, as Shell has left the people in deprivation, squalor, and lamentation after decades of operation. Believes that upgrading the abandoned airstrip to an Air Force base will bring renewed hope to the people, restore life to the area, and attract the following benefits to the country. One, strengthen the security and architecture of Nigeria as the creeks of Bayelsa up to Brass Island and the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in the Gulf of Guinea, where the oil export terminal is located, will be easily monitored and protected. Two, reduce the rate of oil theft and pipeline vandalism as it will enhance surveillance activities in the numerous oil producing and impacted communities of the area, which constitute the hub of oil industry activities in Nigeria. Three, attract more business opportunities in the area, thereby creating additional jobs to boost the economic growth of our nation and ease the cost of living of the people. Recognizing the fact that for the abandoned airstrip to be transformed into an Air Force base of global standard, provisions of the underlisted prerequisite amenities and equipment is imperative. One, a runway measuring 2,500 meters by 45 meters. Two, a PCN or load classification number LCN 100. Three, a control tower with console. Four, a fire station and equipment. Five, a meteorological service system. Six, a parking space and office buildings. Senate accordingly resolves to one, urge the Ministry of Aviation, the Nigerian Air Force, to take over and convert the deserted and uncultivatable wasteland of the abandoned Shell airstrip at Olobiri Oil Well 1, Kotogdi, to a modern Air Force base in Bayelsa State. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Gaga.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Kaka Shehu Lawan. I represent the good people of Borno Central Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my good brother, Chief Benson Agadaga. And with the leave of Mr. President, I would like to lend my voice. Mr. President, sir, the motion just moved by Chief Agadaga is apt and timely. It is high time that all parts of Nigeria do have all sorts of military establishments with a view to ridding or wiping out criminals and criminal activities, particularly in the creeks where Chief Benson Agadaga hails from. Without wasting much of our time, Mr. President, I urge all my colleagues to support this noble motion. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished Senator Issa Jibril.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Issa Jibrin. I represent Kogi East. Mr. President, first I want to commend the mover of this motion for a very thorough research on the history of that airstrip. But, Mr. President, sir, I want to believe that the airstrip being mentioned here was built many years ago for a particular purpose, for the use of Shell. Okay? As it is today, Shell has withdrawn its operations from that location. If we are going to revive this airstrip or transform it to an Air Force base, I don't really know if the cost of transforming this airstrip to an Air Force port will be worth the while. Because at the end of the day, we will have to look at the cost-benefit analysis. Nigeria today has so many urgent needs that will touch the lives of all Nigerians. Can we afford to go into this type of venture now? The cost of transforming this airstrip to his desired Air Force base will be enormous. Apart from the initial cost, there will be annual maintenance costs. Are there other benefits there to Nigerians and even to that environment beyond the pride of having that airstrip there or having the Air Force base there? Do we really have any are there any other economic benefits attributable to Nigeria? So, Mr. President, while I support this motion, I think it is not a motion that should deserve the urgent attention of the federal government. We may confine it to a long-term plan of the federal government, because there are so many issues today in Nigeria that demand all forms of funding from the federal government. I so submit.
So you have somebody has spoken for and against, and I want to. Were you against?
President, I'm not entirely engaged, but the caption here is urgent need. And what I'm saying is that there is no urgency here as it is now. Because whatever you want to do here will entail funding from the federal government. And I'm saying that there are more urgent needs for the government to fund now as it is now. So we may have to confine this to a long-term plan of the federal government, not immediate or not immediate need of the federal government.
Okay, let me. I try to look at those who have not spoken today. So, distinguished Senator Otumba Benga Daniel.
Thank you very much, our Senate President. I'm Otumba Benga Daniel, representing Ogun East District Districts. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I don't really see that there is need to debate much on this very important submission by our colleague. An airstrip has various functions, and when it is in the hands of SDPC Shell, the entire security apparatus know that the airstrip is in their hand, and they are therefore responsible. Apart from the daily routine of work they do with the airstrip, they are responsible for the security implications of what will happen in that airstrip. Now that the place is abandoned, it is my submission that it is indeed a security risk to leave it unattended. For whatever it's worth, since it is an airstrip that is existing, I'm not envisaging that there's a lot of money that requires to be spent to go and take it over. I think the minimum that should happen is that the Nigerian Air Force, even if it's for reasons of security, should go and take over the airstrip nearly immediately. You'll agree with me that a lot of pilferages is going on across the country today. Illegal miners who bring all sorts of aircraft to the country and take whatever they want to take without being challenged. You can therefore imagine the opportunity cost that we'll be losing if we leave the airstrip the way it is unattended. It is therefore my submission to um, support and ask my colleagues to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, the same Senator Oshumone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have listened to the wordings of this motion, and the only confusion that or controversy that was about to emerge was from the contribution from my very, very close in-law, even though we have issues about servicing. I think, sir, that even foreign countries try to establish air base in other countries in order to enable them act promptly if emergency, so if there is a situation of emergency that require the intervention of the Air Force. I find nothing wrong. In fact, I see all the benefit. Considering that in that part of the country, there is no air base in the South-South. So should there be need for quick reinforcement and quick mobilization of Nigeria Air Force to deal with a perceived security challenge, I think such an airstrip will handily be available. My brother's suggestion that federal government has so much in his hand and therefore they should not put it as urgent, with due respect to him, is neither here or there. We all understand, it goes without saying, that any motion we have passed here that will involve financial exposure will be done only to the extent that the planning authorities can reconcile the funds required for it vis-a-vis doing cost-benefit analysis. I think that in terms of geopolitical servicing of the responsibility of Nigeria Air Force to secure the territorial integrity of Nigeria, I found a lot of merit in his submission. I do not think it's about cost, it's about security. And as we now know, security is virtually everything. If you think it is too much to secure the country, try the cost of its security. And the Air Force that I know, we have a base in Kaduna, we have a base in Lagos, we probably have a base in Makurdi. I think it is right and fitting and equitable. And in terms of logistics, it is appropriate to have an Air Force base in that part of the South-South. It has merit, and I urge my colleagues to support it, knowing that it is not a decree that must be invoked today. The appropriate Air Force authorities will plan it, and they will know how to face the development. Rome was not built in a day, but the idea to build Rome started on a particular day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This is Senator Garba.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, my name is Garba Musa Maidoki, representing the good people of Kebbi South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I work in Niger Delta all my life, so I'm in full support of reviving this airstrip. But I need to correct an impression first that there is no Air Force base in South-South. That is not true. There is an Air Force base in Port Harcourt Township. But the critical nature of this airstrip is that, just like distinguished Senator Benga Daniel said, that miscreants are misusing that place for illegality against this country. As far as I know today, there is no complete radar coverage the whole of Nigeria. Aircraft do come in, use remote locations, do illegal things, and leave this country without a trace. Niger Delta is a golden goose that laid the golden egg for Nigerian foreign exchange. Everybody knows the problem of oil theft and pipeline vandalism. That airport if it is strengthened, will actually pay for itself because the wastages and the stealing of crude oil that goes in by crooks will actually be checked and response can be done immediately. So this cost will, if they curtail the thefts of crude oil and pipeline vandalism, the cost was less than 1% of what we are losing. This airport is critical, is security, and it will secure our lives and livelihood in Niger Delta. I so support this 100%. Thank you very much, sir.
Distinguished Senator, may you have information?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the convention here that one may not be able to speak twice during plenary, but sometimes very important things come up, and one is persuaded by conscience to contribute. Thank you for this opportunity. Mr. President, looking at this motion brought by Benson Agadaga, you will see the historical perspective. Oil was discovered in Oloibiri in 1956. Before the discovery of this oil in Oloibiri, Nigeria was surviving on agriculture, mainly farm produce and the rest of it. But since the discovery of oil in Oloibiri, Nigeria got a boom in its economic empowerment through petrodollars that started flowing from oil. The airstrip that was built in Oloibiri is a historical airstrip. That oil well one in Oloibiri is already a historical site. It's a historical monument that Nigerians will ever want to preserve. It's even a tourist, it's supposed to be a tourist center where Nigerians will go and people who come will go to see that place where oil was first discovered in Nigeria. The airstrip being canvassed for, I do not think it's just because of security. It is because of the strategic importance of that location in Nigeria's economic advancement and progress. It is therefore very important that that place should be constructed and brought back to function as an airstrip. People will go to Oloibiri. Myself would like to go to Oloibiri someday. Am I going to go to Oloibiri by canoe or whatever, flying boats? The airstrip will make it very convenient for people to get there. It brings another aspect of our neglect to areas that are very important in our national life. The Niger Delta region, from where we have this money, which we have built all the international airports in Nigeria, including any part of Nigeria have airport, is money from that place. What will be the cost of that airstrip? It will be insignificant compared to its contribution to national development and growth. So I will say that even though the airstrip will serve other purposes, it is important that that area from where this oil was first discovered should be made a national center where people will go and see what it is. And development should come around that place. There was a day I saw the Oloibiri oil well, one, surrounded by bush. It's not, nobody clears it anymore. I saw it on social media and I wept. I said, how can this place, this spot that opened the gate to Nigeria be so neglected? The white man will preserve that spot, clear it, and make it very attractive for somebody to come and see. So I think that it should be accorded the importance and not trivialized. What Agadaga Benson has said is in accord with equity and fairness. We should be able to put money there and build that airstrip. I know there are competing needs in Nigeria, but that one is a very small need for government of Nigeria to finance. So on this note, I want to rise to support that airstrip needs to be built, not just a small airstrip, it should be built very strongly and equipped very well. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Orji Uzo Kalu.
Mr. President, my name is Oji Ozokalo. I represent Abia North. In supporting the motion raised by Senator Agadaga, it's not only our Air Force can use that airport. That airport should sincerely be used by Nigerian Navy and by Nigerian people. If you check between Olobri and the Atlantic Ocean, it's not very far because most times all the war ships were carried, like Arado and all the rest of them, Okemiri, they must not be ready to carry the aircraft carrier. Nigerian Navy can use Oloebri as a launching pad to the Atlantic Ocean. So it's not only Nigerian Air Force that you make it to be popular for, so to use it. Nigerian Navy have aircraft that they use sometimes to put in their aircraft carrier. Most of the times, Nigerian aircraft carrier as big as Arado might be going on servicing and all the rest of them. Nigeria will not be protected by aircraft carrier on that route. So Olobiri can be an alternate landing pad for Nigerian Navy to guide the oil pipelines. So, Senator Agadaga, this airstrip is not only good for Air Force, it's going to serve Nigerian public. It's also federal government should reactivate the airstrip to be a visiting site by foreigners, because this is the first place our oil came from, because people can come. And it can also be an alternate airport to Port Harcourt Airport and the airstrip in Port Harcourt. Because sometimes when you are coming on L18 of the roadway, you can see that there is Jews or something covering it. You go to alternate airport and land. Nobody will return you back to Abuja. Because returning you to Abuja, it will be allowed commercial aircraft can use it, not only Air Force or Navy or so forth. So it will be an alternate airport to that area, because airline operators are losing a lot of money. Whenever there's a weather problem in Port Harcourt Airport, they are going back to Lagos or going back to Abuja to land. It's also a problem. So it's not a waste, Mr. President. It's not a waste by any means. It's going to serve three purposes: our Air Force, our Navy, and commercial purposes. So I support this motion wholeheartedly because it's the right thing to do at the right time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Orji Uzo Kalu, and thank you, my distinguished colleagues, for your contributions. If I were to add, I would have said that if the strategic nature, the historical connotation of a library is what Senator Omer tried to canvass. Yes, we have finished drilling the oil. We have left the soil desolate. We have abandoned the site, and yet it's actually a historical site. That there was the first oil well ever discovered in Nigeria in 1956. Very sadly, some years ago, I was shocked to realize that that area had no electricity for over 33 years. The whole of that community had no electricity. The moment the oil companies move out, after they conclude the excavation, after they finish with the oil, after they sapped the oil, the area was left abandoned. So even what you are talking about now is for us to try to preserve certain historical monuments. And that for me is one. The other aspect of what Senator Orji Uzo Kalu pointed out is that development anywhere is development everywhere. It's not only the Air Force that can make use of that place, but also the Navy. And you need to know that within that area, we don't really have a search and rescue airstrip. where if there's any mishap within the Gulf of Guinea, then we can quickly respond to save lives. So I would just want to add my voice in thanking you for bringing this motion and to say yes, it has received wide acclamation from your colleagues and is the right thing to do, and pray that the government will see the need to go back and then renovate, reconstruct that airstrip for use by security agencies for the benefit of Nigerian economy, to protect our pipelines, to also allow to rescue human beings in the event of any mishap by boat or by air. So I thank you, and I thank my colleagues for their contributions. Can we go to the prayer? Accordingly resolve to urge the Ministry of Aviation and the Nigerian Air Force to take over and convert the deserted and uncultivable wasteland I'm reading according to your English. No, it's your English that I'm reading. What is here? Yeah, no. He's allowed to mix it with his local language. so, so, so it's the deserted wasteland of the abandoned Shell airstrip at the library, Oil Well 1, Otuogidi to a modern Air Force base in Bayelsa State. To a modern airstrip in Bayelsa State. Those in support of the single prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So thank you very much for bringing this to the fore. Additional prayer, Senator Garba.
Thank you very much, the Senate President. As you rightly said, that Shell had extracted so much from that environment, and the history of crude oil exploration in Nigeria started there. I urge that additional prayer that the oil companies operating in Nigeria should contribute towards the restoration of this airstrip as a historical monument for oil exploration, that the Niger Delta Development Commission, that NMPC, through the joint venture NAPIMS, should all bring in resources to reactivate this oil field. Thank you very much, sir.
Any second? Distinguished Senator Sadio Mustafa, I would have recognized you, but on your own volition, you have changed camp.
Yes.
So
he's comfortable here.
And if you are too comfortable there, I will urge the Senator Yaradua to look into the issue. Are you going back to your seat? You are going back to your seat now. Okay, so you lost your chance. Distinguished Senator Idiot.
So are you depleting our numbers now?
No, Senator Garba, off your mic.
The President of the Senate, my name is Idiat Olorunti Adebule. I represent the good people of Lagos West. I rise to support the additional prayer that all oil companies should contribute to the development of the area as moved by Senator Medoki. That is, I support the additional prayer moved by Senator Medoki for the further development of the Oloibiri area and the Niger Delta as a whole.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, an additional prayer by distinguished Senator Garba Maidoki is to the effect that the NMPCL, together with the NDDC, alongside Shell and other companies, should also make contributions with the federal government to immortalize that oil well at Oloibiri by turning that place into a major airstrip for use by the armed forces. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we are calling on the NMPC, the NDDC, the Shell, and other oil operators to remember that that was the first oil well in Nigeria, and therefore we should not allow it to remain a wasteland. We should utilize the place in memory of the resources that place had brought to Nigeria. Thank you for bringing this motion, and thank you for your contributions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third and very last order of the day is a motion standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Jimoh Ibrahim on the 11,886 mega projects abandoned by the federal government. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Jimoh Ibrahim to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Jimoh Ibrahim.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, my very most distinguished colleagues of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My name is Jimoh Ibrahim Folorenshaw. I represent the good people of Ondo South. I rise, distinguished colleagues, on the motion for urgent need to look into 11,886 abandoned federal government projects in Nigeria. The Senate notes that in 2011, President Goodluck Jonathan set up a presidential committee on federal government abandoned projects in Nigeria. The committee visited 30 states of the Federation, including Abuja, and identified 11,886 projects abandoned by the federal government since Nigeria independence in 1960. Distinguished colleagues, also note that according to the report, that constitute about 63% of the entire project since independence were abandoned. Even when a project is successfully delivered, you all know it usually comes with an overrun cost of 40%, while most deliverable projects record 10% underperformance. And here we have 11,886 projects abandoned. The single colleague, Mr. Senate President, further notes that the 63% of projects abandoned in Nigeria is terrible, that is worse than any other country under comparison. The abandonment of the project is of significant concern because of project costs, which constitute a significant part of our gross domestic product, GDP. While spending on public projects in the UK is now around £1 trillion, Nigeria do not have an idea of the total amount of money spent on public projects, either successful or unsuccessful, since independence in 1960. Distinguished colleagues, observe that cost overrun and benefit shortfall over and over again of projects in Nigeria is important. For instance, in the investigation carried out at the University of Cambridge doctorate in management science between 1981 and 2022, the value of 38 projects investigated cost Nigeria $40 billion. What is now key to this investigation is the need to look inward for our infrastructural development, as foreign direct investment declined from 8.8 billion in 2011 to negative 17 billion. And the current account balances in that year was 10.6 billion, and then it came down to negative 17 billion, as I said. While the population of Nigeria was growing as at that time with about 5%, 86% of citizens were living under $2, Mr. Senate President, in 2011 and 2019. Public debt rose from 17% of the GDP to about 29% in 2019, and this is very, very worrisome. Also observe, distinguished colleagues, that government has responsibility to set up professional system that will deliver the critical value from major infrastructure development for a citizen. And for 66% of projects to be abandoned since 1960 is nothing less than a calamity, and that reduces our pride as giant of Africa if we are still one. And every stakeholder should be concerned with giving support for a legitimate solution, while the government have the responsibility to act, Mr. Senate President. Let me also say that it is now the case that 3 abandoned projects out of the 11,886 projects are over 30% of our national debt. For instance, the Ajakuta will spend $10 billion without producing any steel. That amount was spent. Any production, needless to say, or talk about Shopee, we spent $4.5 billion on Shopee. Mr. Senate President, you call it, nobody knows the address of Shopee as I speak. We don't know where they address it for a project that took $4.6 billion. Same as Second Niger Bridge. The Second Niger Bridge is a 5-phase project. Only one phase we are battling with. 4 phases were completely neglected. Recall, distinguished colleagues, Mr. Senate President, Your Excellency, that products like National Library, we all see National Library as you go home in Abuja here by the side of the road. $386 billion have been spent on that library. It's at the 4th floor out of 13 floors. Lagos Badagry Express Road comes to mind readily. Calabar Power Plant, 7 zones of Calabar Power Plant were supposed to be completed. When President Jonathan opened 2 of it, by the time he returned to Abuja, they were all closed down. Zuguri Dam, where we collected money from a Chinese bank, Exim Bank, well over $2 billion have been collected. And I speak with you, we are still battling with it. Malawi site. Yeah, we all know about Malawi site, and as a matter of fact, well over 4.6 billion is before arbitration right now when nothing happened at the site. Otopo Dam is another well-abandoned project for my colleagues that comes from Benue State. Satellites. We understand one of the satellites was lost in orbit. Mr. Senate President, we expect that the insurance company is supposed to pay for that satellite that was launched and lost. One was successful, second satellite was lost. Now, NITEL and many of them that we can see, Calabar Seaport, Abuja Mass Housing Project, erosion took away 25% of the entire site and the project abandoned. To mention just a few out of 11,000 projects that are abandoned. Note, Mr. Senate President, that project abandonment is a syndrome to national development, particularly when it is centered around basic infrastructure, as over 63% of the federal government projects have been abandoned since independence in 1960. Regret, Mr. Senate President, that the implication of the very many abandoned projects could be seen on the economic practically as the direct investment decline from 8.8 billion in 2011 to 3.3 billion in 2019. And the current account balances in that year from 10.6 billion to negative 17 billion. And that is where the federal government is having a lot of problems right now because of all of this negative decline. Why the population, our population, is growing at 5% according to World Population Center, about 66% of citizens are living under $2. I don't even know whether that is $2 now because dollar has gone to 1,400, so $2 will be 2,800. I don't know 86% can afford to have 2,800 per day to speed, to feed. Between 2001 and 2019. Now, public debt has also gone up by 17% of the GDP in 2001. It used to be 27 billion debt. Now we're having 77 billion debt. And as of that year, in 2019, it has increased to 29% of the entire economic size. And, Mr. President, this is very, very, very embarrassing. Now, conclude, very distinguished colleagues for time, that about 11,000 projects have been abandoned by the federal government since independence, according to the Presidential Committee on Abandoned Projects set up by the President Jonathan as at that time. In the case of Ajakuta alone, one project, $10 billion. If we have a debt of $76 billion, Mr. Senate President, $10 billion is about 15% of entire debt, from one project out of 11,000 projects. And let me round up by saying that it is not the case that we never had a successful project. At least Goswin Akpabio project was very successful in Akwa Ibom. It is not that we don't know how to do it, but how we have 11,000.
Please take that again, please.
I said, my distinguished colleagues, Your Excellency, Mr. Senate President, it is not the case that Nigeria doesn't know how to do successful projects. For example, the Godway Akpabio Stadium in Akwa Ibom is a successful project, deliver on time, on cost, and to benefits. But what we have in these 11,000 projects that are abandoned, Mr. Senate President, is cost overrun, benefit shortfall, and over and over again. This Senate have responsibility to look at this abandoned project and at least get a conclusive document to give to the executive to implement. Because every day when the budget comes here again, we have project coming up. Accordingly, resolve, Mr. Senate President, one, set up ad hoc committee to investigate the number of important projects abandoned, across Nigeria and in all sectors of the economy. And as a matter of fact, the second prayer, Mr. Senate President, is recommend appropriate action to be taken to reduce project abandonment in Nigeria, and how most of those projects can be retrieved or recovered. For example, if we don't need a national library, then why don't you sell it and use to build the other project that you abandoned? If our Jakarta is still costing $10 billion, now we still have to spend more money. Where the green field cost $1.2 billion, what can we do with that site? Because as I speak with you, Mr. Senate President, and I'm happy that the former Senate President is here, the Ninth Senate allocated 5 billion naira for the payment of workers in Ajakuta. And what are they doing there? $10 billion have been spent on that project, and we have not produced any steel. Lastly, I want to bring to your attention, Mr. Senate President, that iron importation is 25% of cash position of our budget. Iron importation is 25% of cash element of our budget. Now, every building you build is 30% iron component. We still import iron. We can't produce iron, and we have 10 billion spent on one project. Very distinguished colleagues, I want to thank you for your attention and for time taking. Mr. Senate President, thank you very much. I so move. Thank you, sir.
Let's listen to a businessman, a former governor, an administrator, and a distinguished senator for excellence, distinguished senator, Governor Oji Uzo Kalu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Oji Uzo Kalu. I represent Abia North. Mr. President, in supporting this motion, I will seek your permission to allow me to say one or two things before I sit back. I only want to support the motion raised by Senator Jimo Ibrahim. The 11,556 projects all over Nigeria, we are saying we are going to make cars, we are going to make steel. Like he said last, steel importation takes almost 25, 27% of our foreign exchange, because steel are being imported through China and other surrounding countries, Vietnam and so forth, and Russia sometimes. If we don't go back to build Ajokuta, and even the aluminum settlement in Akwa Ibom, very close to my tank farm, in your village there, you cannot, there's no industrialization. We are not going to talk about industrializing Nigeria. We must have the steel fats. All the steel rolling mills in Nigeria, in Katsina, in Jos, in Alaja, everywhere you have the steel rolling mills, are not going to be functional. So Senator Jimmy Ibrahim has brought a very fundamental thing. Let us stop saying we are dying in poverty. We are not dying in poverty because the country can be great if we face reality. The reality is that we can close 1 year budget and don't do any other thing and reactivate those industries to come on stream. If they come on stream, our people will have jobs. People will see where to work. The industrial revolution of Nigeria will kick off. Because without kicking off Ajokuta steel rolling mill and other small rolling mill in Katsina and larger Jaws and all the rest of them, we're not going to go very far because we are relying every time in importation. You go to China, people tell you China, China, China. Everybody's making China the warehouse of their place. Why don't we make Aba and Newi the warehouse? These boys are manufacturing everything, but they need steel. They cannot get the steel. If we have steel today, there's nothing made in China that cannot be made in Aba. I am telling you, the rice mill, the solars, everything. Aba people are manufacturing it. Some of you are buying solar. You say it's made in China. It's made in Aba. The Aba people are doing AK-47. They manufacture it. That is the truth. Senate President might know, even in Aba, a very border of his village. Those people have been, I was governor, I've arrested them many times. They manufacture these things in their villages. So it's no longer new that we should face the steel revolution. If we don't face it, Mr. President, we are still wasting our time. And you check our debt repayment. The debt repayment is coming on this project. Why would Nigerians be suffering on what's supposed to have been done? We're supposed to convert back our money and build these industries. So we stop paying debt repayment on them. Check the interest and every other thing we are doing. So I urge my colleagues to support every bit of item that Senator Ibrahim said this, and we should appeal generously to President Tinubu. Maybe 2026 budget, 2027 budget, we dedicate it to reactivate all these industries. It's our own. We cannot be waiting for people. If we don't do it, we will not move forward. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity.
Well, let me say, this is a very important motion. It's a product of very serious research in Cambridge University. And even when he was talking about 11,000 abandoned projects, I'm sure he did not avert his mind to the number of abandoned projects in NDDC. NDDC has almost 30,000 abandoned projects. So when you add, you may be hitting about 30 to 28,000 or so. And what Senator Joseph Okalo is saying is the belief of all Nigerians. Most of these projects came through debts, came through loans. So we are still paying the counterpart funding, the indebtedness. We are still paying interest on the loans that we obtained to do these projects, and yet the projects are abandoned. I haven't seen any single federal government project in my area that is functional. The Aluminium Smelter Company of Nigeria, from legal perspective and others, is in shatters. Then we have the paper mill. The paper mill at Kuyuku was also a big one. And today, that place is just abandoned. In fact, when I went to Aluminium Smelter Company, I was shocked to see embedded 690 megawatts of electricity shortly for over 12 years. The turbines were brand new and they were complete. So if you put them on, you can have 690 megawatts. At that time, my state did not need up to 90 megawatts. Abia State did not need more than 100 megawatts. Cross River did not need more than 70 megawatts. So even if we brought out the 690 megawatts, we could have targeted like 5 states and given them light permanently. There's 24 hours light supply for 690. The turbines are there in Ikorabasi, owned by the federal government, brand new, installed and not used in the Aluminium Smelter Company of Nigeria. So sometimes we in the Senate and our colleagues in the in the House of Representatives, we are now in charge of the country. And this motion is a reflection of our concern for Nigeria to do things differently. This is a new regime because when you talk in the past, if you advise government too much, you become an opposition. So we are in charge now. And we are bringing this motion for us to take steps, to retrace our steps and do things differently. And it's the right moment. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as president of Nigeria, is less than 1 year old. He's also very concerned about the way Nigeria was going. We're slowly creeping to the precipice of disaster. We can be using over 90% of our resources to pay interest on loans and to pay interest to settle indebtedness. What will we have for developmental projects? What is the future of Nigeria? So when I looked at the book you gave me before you moved the motion, how mega projects are damaging Nigeria and how to fix it. This was written when you were doing your thesis. And I looked inside, I saw the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. Started in 2012, completed in 2014, and you scored it in Cambridge as 100% successful project in Africa. And by the grace of Almighty God and by your indulgence, I'm sitting as Senate President. So I'm in a position to talk about projects, commitment and completion. So without, if you have your own, please also mention. Isabel, you have one? You can say something. Yes? Dismiss Senator Isabel. Make your contribution. Oh,
Mr.
what you have your own? Yeah. The horse rider.
Mr.
No, let Senator Igbizagba finish.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, my name is Jide Ikpishagba, representing Ondo North Senatorial District. I stand to support the motion from Senator Jimo Ibrahim in various areas, which I'm going to be specific concerning one area out of this support. One, I wouldn't know precisely the source of his own data for arriving at that one. I want to believe he must have gone through serious research. But one thing that we have to understand here is that project abandonment, infrastructure decay, in whatever level we can look at it, is the same, whether from local government or from the state or the national level. What happened at the local government could be a miniature of the state. Now, why am I saying this? Is that when you look at his motion, we have to also talk about the solution at the cost of that abandonment or infrastructure decay. One of it is continuity in project management. From our own, we have to start looking at it from charity begins at home. Go to your senatorial district. You will find out that at the end of every tenure of any senator here, he must have embarked on projects because he want to start a fresh project. They will abandon the project that is in place in that senatorial district. This is part of project abandonment, which I believe Senator Jimo Ibrahim wouldn't have taken account of that one when he was doing his research. So, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I want us to look inward into that when we have projects in our various senatorial districts and another senator, your predecessor, who was working on a project before, by one way or the other, he leaves the position. We have to consider it. One thing here is that we don't even take report or account of what projects are in each senatorial district where we are living. And what can we do? We start with our own fresh project because we want to shine up. So, Mr. President and my district colleagues, I want us to look at the aspect of continuity in project as part of a way of resolving project decay or project abandonment. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think you're right there. Even when I was commissioner for local government some 20 something years ago, I discovered that whenever a new local government chairman comes, he wants to start his own project. He will abandon even the headquarters of the local government, even at lintel level. You go and start fresh uh, groundbreaking ceremony. And he said for what? He said for local government headquarters. Then you ask what of the other one? He said no. If he finishes it, they will count it for the former chairman. So nobody really owns anything. Heathrow Airport was constructed for 25 years. You cannot say it was this particular prime minister that did it. It belongs to the good people of the United Kingdom. So I think there has to be a major reorientation of political office holders to know that projects are meant for the people, not necessarily meant for themselves. So you are right. Any senator that has abandoned projects of a previous senator in a senatorial district should start from there. Go back, take a look at those things, and then complete them, particularly if they are of benefit to the people, and not start your own afresh as if there is no continuity. This is a very, very important motion. Senator Issa Jibrin, let's have a solution.
Yeah.
Can ad hoc committee alone unravel the mystery behind 11,000 plus projects? Or do we unpick some of the projects that we want them to look into? Because if we just say 11,000, even in the next 5 years, they may not finish going around the 11,000 projects. So maybe we should select major projects and then give it to an ad hoc committee to look into. But because if we want to take the entirety of the 11,800 projects, I think it might be a big problem before the administration ends.
Thank you, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. Mr. President has actually partially spoken my mind. Okay? The rationale behind this abandonment, like we all know, is funding. These projects are still relevant. But as it is today, I doubt if the federal government can revive all these projects at the same time. My suggestion is that we should look at these projects, x-ray them, look at those that have competitive return, that have potentials for competitive return on investment. That is by way of revenue generation. Those ones should be isolated and handed over to the Bureau of Public Enterprises for outright sale or concession to private investors. That is my suggestion.
That is, can I ask you a question? The Federal Secretariat in Lagos, in Ikoyi, beautiful structure, Federal Secretariat, abandoned for many years. After billions have been sunken, what do we do with such a structure? Because it's not abandoned. What is
It's abandoned.
Please, the Federal Secretariat is not abandoned. We must be guided. There's a legal tussle from the person that was given the offer of purchase with Lagos State government. There's a legal tussle on it. It's not an abandoned project. The Obasanjo administration sold it to somebody.
So how many years now?
Well, that is.
How many years?
Then is the court you.
How many years now? I'm not just a simple question.
Yeah, in court.
How many years now? Huh? How many years now? Huh? So if in 18 years a child that was born has come to see that place abandoned, and that child is 18 years down and is still abandoned, as far as the child is concerned, that is an abandoned place. So you will not be able to settle out of court or find a solution. So in the next 50 years, what do you think will happen to the integrity of that project? What do you think will happen to the integrity of that structure? So I understand what you are saying. We are talking about abandonment, whether by way of legal tussle or by way of inchoate completion or by way of lack of payment. It's a abandonment.
Well, sir, Your Excellency, in also supporting Senator Jimo Ibrahim's motion, my name is Senator Saliu Mustafa from Kwara Central. My support for his motion is that not only do we try to distill from the myriad or from the numbers of these abandoned projects, but in a way of mitigating further processes that will lead to abandonment of projects, we should find either a law or something that will compel government in, government out to always complete projects that they meet. Because, for instance, the National Library now, if you go back to that National Library to complete it today, it cannot meet up the state of art functionality of e-libraries around the world. Because when it was designed, when it was built for the normal conventional library purpose. So I'm supporting his motion that we should also look for a deterrent in our books, whereby when projects are being conceived, it should be stated that government in, government out, some of these projects must be completed. Thank you, sir.
Senator Shiru. Who gave Walada a seat near to the eye? Because we have to return you to where you belong. Because I see you running up and down the aisle. I remember the first day I saw you there, I said, are we going to have peace? So if you are going up and down here now, we have to return you to somewhere inside. But you speak after Senator Shiru.
Road. Yes. Not that Yorkshire Road. They have.
Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleague, Senator Ashiru, representing my people in Kwara South. I want to lend my total support to this motion. And more than anything, to try to address a way out. When Professor Jima mentioned 11,866 projects, I have a very serious doubt whether we are talking about It's not a multiple of this figure. Number one, he was referring to investigation made in 2011. We are in 2024, 13 years after. So many projects have been done, and very, very more had equally been abandoned. And when you look at the projects we are talking about, they probably run throughout the strata of our life. And I have the feeling that tackling this means that almost all senators of Federal Republic must be involved. What I mean by that is it is important for us to revert back to various committees. There are so much in under the Committee of Housing, because I think in 2019 I did a study of abandoned project housing, which happened to be one of those ones mentioned by Salim, Senator Salim Mustafa. I understand from the perspective of our study, more than 5 trillion naira could be made by the sale of abandoned projects under housing and property only. So by the time you look at the totality of this, you discover that there are a lot of recoverables that federal government can make from instituting a process, either to complete, to sell, or whatever form, or to recover, even from the contractors. So I'm trying to suggest that all committee chairmen and deputy should do a critical study of abandoned projects under their purview and try to provide a solution. I mean, they will do the study, try to provide a solution on way forward on this project. Mr. President, I am very confident that if this is done as a major assignment of the Senate, we will save Nigeria from a lot of financial peril. I so submit, Mr. President.
Yes, this is Senator Wadada.
Thank you very much,
Under what order?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. This should,
No. It's not the one. It's actually Senator Olarere was saying information. So I said under what order? Because I think what it should have been point of order, not information.
yes.
So if you have a point of order, it's different from information. But dismiss Senator Wadada, you have
The President recognized me to contribute to the motion, please. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this should be one of the most celebrated motions brought up by the 10th Senate. Abandonment of projects has become a cankerworm across the strata of governments in Nigeria, local, state, and national. And if you put together the quantum of money that was invested in putting up these projects and the quantum of money as to losses that we get every day because of the abandonment of these projects cannot be comprehended by any normal, rightful sense. And this, if taken care of, will holistically take care of greater percentage of the problems confronting the politics of our polity, the economy of our polity, the sociability of our polity, and everything. Before we moved to this chamber, I had cause to contribute to a motion brought by our sister, distinguished Senator Natasha, where I was emphatic on the issue of Aja Okuta. The real sector is the major driver of every economic development of every polity. And if you look at a few or a number of these abandoned projects, some of them have very key, germane, relevant, and important roles to play in driving the real sector. If our real sector is up and active, problem of unemployment will be solved, insecurity will be adequately taken care of, because nobody can tell me that he or she has reason or reasons to distance insecurity to poverty. They are in bed together. Our GDP, if the real sector is active, our GDP will grow higher than what it is. The naira to dollar exchange will beef up. Naira will be much more strengthened. Because if the real sector is active, you will have much for domestic utilization and much for exportation. And the more we export, the more foreign exchange we generate, and the more we beef up our foreign reserve. Mr. President, as uncommon as we know you to be, this motion should be given all the needed support. Talking about Aluminium Smelter Company, in my younger days, an extended uncle of mine was an executive director in Aluminium Smelter. I enjoyed that environment. When there at that time, you think you were not in this part of the world. Today, that is abandoned. Just steel rolling mills contributed to the social and economic atmosphere of Jos Plateau. I am a Josite. I am from Nasarawa State today, but of Plateau extraction. I know socially, economically, and otherwise what Jos Steel Rolling Mill was. Talking Katsina Rolling Mills, of course, it added to the social growth and development of Katsina State. The lack of functionability of Katsina Steel Rolling Mills is part of the reason of the high insecurity in Katsina State. Because the youth, there is virtually nothing of federal presence or vehicle to employ the teeming youth in Katsina. And so, if we are really and truly committed to providing employment for our teeming youth in Nigeria, and as well as committed to grow our GDP, committed to taking Nigeria to the level that it deserves based on the endowment of Nigeria, this motion should be supported by all without any reservation. Senator Jimo Ibrahim, I commend you. I have always read, I have always known that you went to Cambridge, but it is today that I'm confirming you went to Cambridge. Thank you, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you. Let me invite distinguished Minority Leader Shiru Olarare to point out.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Senator Oyewumi Kamaldun Olalere. I represent Osunweri Central District in Osun State.
Yes.
Sir, I just want to remind the Senate that around late July, when we started, This was one of the first issues you raised yourself. Concern about the preponderance of so many projects abandoned in Nigeria. And at the end of that discussion that day, a very powerful committee was set up under the chairmanship of Senator Yahya Abdullahi. I remember vividly. And you asked all the senators to bring forth all the abandoned projects in their senatorial district so that they can prepare a compendium of those abandoned projects and bring them to the plenary for us to discuss, and from where we come to suggest to the government which one to be taken every year so that we continue to reduce them. I just want to remind us that we have discussed this issue earlier, but we have not taken any decision on them. So this is one way. It is a common thing, but the Senate must act fast. If not, we are going to be adding more to this abandoned project every year. As from next year, during the 2025 budget, the Senate should pick some priority ones and discuss with the executive so that they will start working on them from this year. As you submit, Mr. President.
Thank you. So you add that as part of the prayers that the Yahya Abdullahi's committee should immediately submit their report to the Senate to enable us take action. Senate leader. So we go into the prayers. Or you want to make a contribution?
Well, just before we go into the prayers, my own very short contribution would be I want to join the rest of our colleagues in thanking distinguished Senator Jimo Ibrahim for bringing this. I'm also persuaded by the reasoning of distinguished Senator Ashiru, the Deputy Majority Leader, that truly were we to actually thoroughly look into all the issues of abandoned projects, the number will be much higher than what was even quoted in the motion. However, what is important is for us to be able to get to the bottom of this. With due respect, sir, I am convinced that we need more than an ad hoc committee to do this. Yes, the Deputy Minority Leader hinted that at the beginning of the 10th Senate, we touch on this issue. But I also want to bring it back to our memory that then it was only with respect to abandoned road projects. But this motion is more comprehensive. It will include road projects, it will include housing projects, and other similarly situated projects aimed at infrastructural development of our country. So, what I would like to suggest is that today, the Senate should actually set up an ad hoc committee that will be saddled with the responsibility of distilling the projects that need to, the abandoned projects that need to be looked into, which is the aim of this motion. We first need an ad hoc committee to distill such projects. After which, in distilling those projects, the committee should also classify them into whether falls within the housing sector, the works and infrastructure sector, environment, education, the various sectors where these projects were initiated. And having so distilled those projects and the sectors that they fall into, we'll come back to report to the Senate, after which the Senate can now direct or order an investigation using the various substantive committees of the Senate that are responsible or saddled with the responsibility of oversighting those sectors. Because those committees will still also need to liaise with the various agencies of government, that are responsible for those sectors. So I believe that what we need to have today is an ad hoc committee that will help to distill the relevant projects in terms of the sectors to which they belong and the relevant committees of this Senate. I thank you so much, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, let's look at the prayers. Prayer 1, set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the number of important projects abandoned across Nigeria in all sectors. Any amendment? You have just amended it.
Well, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I seek your indulgence to treat my last short contribution as an amendment to this prayer.
Distinguished colleague,
I so propose.
any seconder? Yes, distinguished Senator Ashu.
I so second.
That is strongly leadership. Distinguished colleagues, prayer 1 has been amended to say that the Senate should set up an ad hoc committee to distill the thousands of abandoned projects across Nigeria into different sectors and report back to the Senate for further action within 1 month. This has been seconded. Those in support of this decision, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I believe that that decision should be the singular decision of the Senate for today. The second one, that we recommend appropriate actions to be taken to reduce project abandonment. That will be after the submission of the ad hoc committee report. Those in support that we step this down, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, distinguished Senator Jimo Ibrahim, I must thank you for painstakingly taking your time to bring this to the fore and to say that the committee that we are going to set up will have 1 month to get back to us after they've studied your list of 11,800 and something abandoned projects and other abandoned projects in the country since your last study in 2011. And then they will report to the Senate in 1 month, sector by sector, with recommendations on the ones that could be disposed of, on the ones that could be done, and the ones that have legal impediments, which we could draw the attention of the Attorney General of the Federation, and also the ones that we think can fetch Nigeria substantial amounts if they are sold, if they are disposed of. And so at the end of the day, we can now say, yes, we have taken the right decision, but how then can we stop further abandonment of projects in Nigeria? And that it brings us to the issue of project management and project consultancy, project conception, and all that. And even then, they should also look at, recommend that some of the projects, if they've stayed for too many years, may require integrity tests so that we don't end up going to complete a building that will end up collapsing as a result of the fact that they have been abandoned for so many years. But on the whole, on behalf of the 10th Senate, we thank you for this motion. We assure you that we'll do justice to it, to bring this issue to, not, it's possible not to an end, but to minimize very seriously at all strata of government, from the federal government to the state and to the local government. And then we also will make money from these abandoned projects for the benefit of all Nigerians. Thank you, my distinguished brothers, for your contributions. Having come to the end of our deliberations, Distinguished colleagues, we have a bicameral legislature in Nigeria, and we had not yet consulted our colleagues on some of the other key issues. So I believe strongly that we should adjourn to Tuesday next week, and if there is need for us to observe the first anniversary, you'll be communicated. Even we can communicate to you without necessarily coming to chambers, but we should at least come back here on Tuesday with a view to communicating to you in case you need to go to your various states to observe the first anniversary celebration of this current administration. But as distinguished senators of the Federal Republic, our job is at the federal level. So the committee to handle this ad hoc committee to handle this particular issue of distilling the projects, over 18,000 of them, bringing back the report to the Senate and advising the Senate on the way forward, sector by sector, on the issue of abandoned projects will consist of the mover of the motion, Jimo Ibrahim, distinguished Senator Yahya Abdullahi, distinguished Senator Laura Ashiru, distinguished Senator Victor Ume, distinguished Senator Issa Jibrin, distinguished Senator Goje, and distinguished Senator Barina Mbigi, Chairman of Works. And the chairman of that committee will be the deputy leader, distinguished Senator Laura Ashiru, to report back to the Senate in 1 month. Shortly after this, we really ought to have received the United Arab Emirates ambassador to Nigeria and the delegation in room 301 of the Senate President's conference room. So the chairman and vice chairman and Senate committees on foreign affairs and other distinguished senators are invited to join. A delegation of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China will also led by the ambassador, Mr. Zhang Yi, is also okay. I didn't say Zhang Jinping or Azam, but I'm sure they are also waiting for us. It will be at the same venue. So we must, from here, we are almost late for the two events, but you know, this takes precedence. I'm sure they will understand. So we'll go and see them shortly after this. Therefore, the Senate is adjourned to the 28th day of May 2024 at 11 a.m. prompt.
No, don't carry my candy go. Candy no dey, nobody to carry my things.